Watch this satisfying moment. A student's failed hook serve unlocks the real secret. It's not about spin, it's about stealing your opponent's reaction time. Today I'm breaking down the hook serve, and the number one mistake I see is trying to generate spin with just the hand. The real secret is your center of gravity. Let me show you. Watch my body position here. I lean forward, letting my weight press downward toward the table. The racket hooks under the ball, but it's not the wrist doing the work alone. My entire body weight drives down through the contact. If you just push with your arm, you lose everything. Instead, let your center of gravity sink. Almost feel like you're leaning your weight onto the table. Your hand follows your body downward, body leads, hand follows. That downward pressure through your core is what loads the spin. On day one, get this foundation right before anything else. See how much better that is. Think about the purpose of this serve. You want your opponent to have as little time as possible to read your hand. That's the whole point, deception. And the way you achieve that is by pressing your center of gravity down. When your weight drops, your contact point stays hidden beneath your body. If you stand upright with your chest out, your center of gravity stays high, and your opponent sees everything. But when you sink down, the contact happens low and fast. Your opponent only gets a split-second glimpse. Don't extend your arm way down artificially. Once your weight is low, the arm naturally finishes short. Look at how much sidespin-backspin that produces. Now flatten the racket face a little more. You don't need to drop it extremely low. Let the motion stop naturally at the bottom. See how much spin that ball carries. It really kicks when it lands. The key adjustment: as your weight presses down, angle the racket slightly more horizontal. Let the natural breaking of your arm do the work. Don't force the racket downward past the contact. There's a built-in stopping point, and you just let it happen. Now drop your right shoulder. Watch, right shoulder comes down, and immediately the ball gets heavier spin and a lower arc. That's the combination. Center of gravity pressing down, racket face flatter, and right shoulder dropping into the serve. When all three align, the spin jumps dramatically. Now focus on the first bounce. Control where it lands on your side of the table. Use your body to press down through the contact. The harder you commit your weight, the more spin you generate. That's the principle. More body pressure equals more rotation. This serve works because it does two things at once. It deceives the opponent, and it naturally produces heavy sidespin backspin. So the first key point, and I really need everyone to remember this, is what I just coached. Your center of gravity must press down. It's not the hand dragging the body, it's the body driving the hand downward. Watch this. Of course that's going to spin C. The body carries the hand, not the other way around. Never let them disconnect. The harder your body commits downward, the more inertial force transfers into the hand and the more the ball spins. That's point one. Point two, your shoulder must drop. On every hook serve, whether it's a chop style, a reverse knife, any variation, the shoulder has to come down. If your shoulder doesn't drop far enough, your arc stays too high and the serve is readable. Watch, shoulder down and the trajectory flattens immediately. So two things to lock in. First, press your center of gravity down. Second, drive your right shoulder down into the release. The lower the shoulder goes, the more force you channel into the ball. Now let me show this in slow motion. Watch carefully how the spin is created. For sidespin backspin, I chop straight down through the ball, a direct downward cut. For sidespin topspin, I trace a small circle before the cut. Let me exaggerate it so you can see. Backspin, straight chop, blade drives down through the contact. Topspin, the racket loops around in a small arc before striking. The contact point and racket angle look almost identical to the opponent, but the path of the racket, just before contact, is completely different. So that's the slow motion breakdown of the hand action, the difference between sidespin topspin and sidespin backspin. Now watch this serve at speed. Can you tell which spin it is? It's sidespin topspin. My partner tries to receive it. Watch the ball jump up off the racket. It pops high because the topspin kicks upward on contact. That's the proof it's topspin. Now look at how it's produced. The racket traces that small circle, hooking upward through the ball. Compare the two motions side by side. The straight downward chop for backspin versus the looping arc for topspin. The difference in the racket path is small, but the effect on the ball is enormous. The truth is, the hook serve sidespin-topspin and sidespin-backspin variations are actually very simple once you understand the force direction. For topspin, you brush slightly upward, up and to the side. For backspin, you brush slightly downward, down and to the side. The problem most amateur players have is that they push forward, contacting the back of the ball. You must commit to sideways force. Once you learn to direct your energy to the side rather than forward, switching between topspin and backspin becomes a matter of angling that sideways force slightly up or slightly down. Remember, hook the ball. Whether the racket face is horizontal or more vertical, the motion is always a hook. For topspin, you hook from low to high. For backspin, you hook from low downward. Think of it like drawing a small circle. That looping path is the essence of the hook serve. Now, people ask which part of the ball to contact. Honestly, it doesn't matter as much as you think. The critical point is that you carry the ball upward with your hooking motion. That upward brush while hooking sideways, that's what creates the sidespin-topspin. That's key point 1. Key point 2 is speed. Once you've made that upward hook, finish the motion quickly so your opponent can't read it. After that, now for the sidespin-backspin version. The method is similar, but instead of hooking upward, we go downward, and we disguise it by showing a forward pulling motion first. Watch closely. Can you even tell this is a backspin serve? I reach forward as if I'm pulling the ball, and then at the last moment I cut downward. Think of it like a chop, it's the same slicing action. You know how a chop defender cuts under the ball. This serve uses that identical downward slash, just compressed into a short, fast motion. Your forearm does need to engage here, you can't be completely passive. Watch my contact point, I push the racket out, then chop straight down. That downward cut produces the backspin. My partner receives it with a push, see how the ball stays low and heavy. Now compare, push out and chop down gives backspin. Push out and trace a small upward circle gives topspin. Same setup, opposite spin. See, the difference in spin is huge, but the difference in my motion is tiny. And right now, I'm deliberately slowing it down. If I add a fake motion on top of that, anyone facing this for the first time simply cannot react in time. Let me serve another one, see if you can tell whether this is sidespin-topspin or sidespin-backspin. I'll do it slowly so you have a chance. Watch my partner's return, look how much spin is on that ball, it's more than you'd expect. The key isn't just the amount of rotation, it's the speed of the rotation. The ball spins faster than it looks like it should. That was backspin, because I chopped straight down through contact. Now let me do a slower one with sidespin-topspin so you can compare the two. Can you see the difference now? Here's why so many players struggle with their serve. Your motion is completely transparent. Your opponent can read every bit of it. It's like you're not wearing any clothes, everything is exposed. A truly good serve always has more deception than real action. It's not that your opponent is gifted, it's that they can see exactly when you go up and when you go down. But when you disguise it properly, watch what happens. My partner hesitates, starts doubting their own read, and ends up reacting on pure instinct, a panicked push, a tentative touch. That hesitation is what it means to get aced by a serve. Notice, my partner hasn't even made contact with the ball yet, but look at the racket angle. It's already set for backspin. The read was made before the stroke even started, and that's what gives the deception away.